Hey team, how's it going? Welcome.
Hello.
Hey.
Um, Kyle, I know you wanted to make a short introduction, and then I'll have our panelists introduce themselves, and we'll start the questions.
Okay, wonderful. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Producers Guild conversation with the creative team behind Black Bear. We'd like to thank our friends at Momentum and Shelter PR for making this event possible. It is my pleasure to introduce our moderator today, Emma Riley. Emma is the Senior Director of Creative Strategy for award-winning Lonely Whale, an incubator for courageous ideas that drive impactful market-based change on behalf of our ocean. As Senior Director, Emma brings her unique talent for building cross-curricula and cross-cultural initiatives and partnerships. She spearheads radically collaborative efforts, including the Strawless Ocean Initiative, aimed at drastically reducing the usage of single-use plastic straws, and Strawless in Seattle, which resulted in the permanent removal of more than 2.5 million plastic straws in the city of Seattle, Washington. Welcome, Emma. Welcome, panelists. And please, Emma, take it away.
Kyle, thank you so much again for having us. Panelists, hello. I'd love to have you introduce yourselves. I am so grateful to be here with you and chatting about Black Bear and about Tandem and about your work and commitment to entertainment and sustainability for the next 30 minutes or so. So why don't we have you introduce yourselves? Julie, I'd love to start with you and then maybe head over to Johnny and then Aubrey, if you wouldn't mind wrapping up the introductions, and then we'll get started on some questions.
Sure.
Sure. Well, hello, Emma. Thank you for doing this with us. My name is Julie Christeas. I'm the founder and CEO of Tandem Pictures and a producer on the film Black Bear.
Cool. Hey, Emma, thank you so much. And thanks to the p.g.a. for this. My name is Johnny Blitstein. I am the Chief Operating Officer and a producer at Tandem Pictures and a producer on the film Black Bear.
Hello, I'm Aubrey Plaza and I am starring in Black Bear, also a producer, and just want to say I'm currently in Turkey right now, which is why I have mood lighting and no sunshine, shooting a movie here, and I'm really excited to be here, and thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. And again, thanks to the Producers Guild for having all of us and being willing to sort of give space to this conversation. So let's talk a little bit about Tandem films in general before we head into a conversation about the creation of Black Bear. So Julie, would you mind giving us a little bit of an overview of Tandem, your mission, sort of what you focus on and maybe what you're inspired by as a company, as a production company?
Sure. We are a platform for people and the planet and powerful storytelling. And what that tagline means in a nutshell is that we work with filmmakers who are trying to reflect something in our society that needs discussion or needs space or more attention. And that when we all go to work together, that we're doing it in a conscious way that doesn't harm our fellow citizens or the planet while we're doing it.
Yeah, it's incredibly important work. I guess, Johnny, maybe you could sort of expand on why, though, it's so important that Tandem and other production companies sort of start to lean into similar missions that focus on, sort of diversity of thought and also positive impact, both in the places they're shooting as well as with the campaigns that they're running for their films. Would you mind talking a little bit about that?
Yeah, thanks, Emma. Well, we're living in climate change right now. If you look at the wildfires in California, rising sea levels, pollution, the atmosphere, and the amount of CO2 and methane and what that's doing to people's breathing. We are living in a crisis worldwide. And so Julie and I feel it's so important to address that through the work that we do, both around the kinds of stories we want to tell and also how we go about actually producing content, doing sustainable productions that are certified. We see both climate justice and social justice as inextricably linked at Tandem Pictures. We feel that the climate problems today are affecting those who are underrepresented, those who are in poverty, those who are the most in need, and it's affecting those people disproportionately. And so we really are looking at ways to change the industry and make a huge impact around the films that we produce and how we produce them. And we have a big part of our mission to educate and bring that awareness out into the world.
That's incredible. And hard to do, I'd bet. And you somehow seem to be able to do that while also putting female creators, putting female narratives, putting female drivers in the driving seat, such as in Black Bear, Aubrey, with the work that you did as a producer and starring in the film itself. So Aubrey, if you wouldn't mind just giving a little bit of background on how you got involved, either with Lawrence, the writer-director, and or Julie and Johnny, the film at large. Would love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Lawrence and I had met actually as actors. Originally, we were cast in an episode of television, a show called Easy on Netflix, and so we spent like 5 days together in Chicago shooting this TV episode, and we got to know each other just as actors, and it was like very clear to me when I met Larry. I'm just gonna call him Larry. When I met Larry, that he had a very like-minded approach to making films and just a thoughtfulness about performance and character, and it was just very clear to me that he was just capable of making something really special. And I was aware of his other films and projects and stuff. So it was just like it was just one of those kind of meetings where you're like, okay, we're very much speaking the same language. And I think we had a lot of things in common. We were both in relationships with filmmakers as well. So we kind of connected on all kinds of levels. And then I think a year later, or maybe like a little less than a year later, he just kind of called me out of nowhere with this script that he had written, and that he was hoping that I would produce and star in. And I think he introduced me to Julie and Johnny and Tandem, and was just so excited when they came on board. And I think when I initially read the script, I kind of just, as a producer, was very aware of how hard it could be to make a movie like this, because it was so small and artistic and not so obviously marketable or any of those things that I think a lot of financiers really want when they're financing a movie. And I had been through that process before, so I was kind of like, we're gonna need someone that's really, really passionate about the movie, or else it just won't happen. And luckily, Julie and Johnny responded to the material, and it just really, I think, was a really organic kind of collaboration from the get-go. Like, we all were just very inspired by the material, and I think we're very, clued in on how we wanted to approach the material. So it was a really, really great team.
Yeah.
That's so nice of Aubrey to say that she was excited when we came on board, because after we spoke with Larry about the script, and he was telling us about his relationship with Aubrey when it came to the script, and how he had sent her the story, but her role in also developing that role and even the title, and that she had this very specific window in the summer with which to make the film. And Johnny and I were like, well, that's when we're making the film. So all systems go towards that target. Yes. So we felt incredibly thrilled and also very privileged to have Aubrey as part of the producing team, and we can be more specific about what all of the things that she ended up bringing to the table, in addition to her great passion and talent, and support of Larry as a writer and a director.
Well, it sounds like it was an incredibly serendipitous experience in general. And sort of getting into the material, Aubrey, as you mentioned, Larry, I'll call him Larry as well, if that's all right. He mentions that the vision for the film and really writing the script came to him over the course of a 4-month fever dream, I think is the quote, And so, Julie, I'd love to, and Johnny, maybe just spend a minute on when that script came to you. What was that experience? How did you receive it? And really, what drove you to decide to engage with it and tell the story? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Johnny's good friend, Daryl Ween, who's a writer and director, had spoken to Larry and Larry's wife and creative partner, Sophia, about Black Bear. And I think he was the one who initially suggested the two of us to them and sent the script to Johnny first. And Johnny read it. And I'll never forget, he didn't even email me. He called me and said, I read this thing. It's very odd, but I think you're going to dig it. Can you read it right away? And I read it and I called him immediately and I was like, let's set up a meeting. I don't even want to talk on the phone. Let's just go meet these people in person. Mm-hmm. And I flew out to LA, I think within a week, and we sat down with Lawrence and Sophia at a very weird little bar that wasn't even open yet. So we had water at the table, and a really great discussion about the project. And something that I was sensitive to was just that there was such ability to speak about gender dynamics in this piece, in addition to so many other subjects. And the fact that the writer and director was a man, I just wanted to meet him in person and make sure that his heart was in the right place and that his intentions were to discover the truth and allow people to really speak for something that needs more attention. And he was so honest and so thoughtful about how he wrote this piece and the reason why his contributions to the discussion around female and male power dynamics, whether it was positive or negative, that I think both Johnny and I were just, immediately liked him, and coupled with our love of the script, we said yes right away. That was it.
Yeah, it was
funny. Yeah, go ahead.
It was classic. It felt like it had the best of European cinema in the idea that it was broken into these chapters. What it was thinking about and talking about was relevant and American in terms of the zeitgeist and those social issues. And then it also had a layer of big questions that are perennial, these ideas of what you sacrifice in the process of making art, which all of us responded to. And so it was kind of a slam dunk, but also I should say it's the kind of film like Aubrey mentioned that is really hard to finance. Everyone reads it and says, this is great, but no one wants to put their money behind it. And so Julie and I and Aubrey and Larry and Sophia, we fought to get this movie financed, to lock in the money to do this. And that was a big part of everything that led up to production, was just really working with the team to convince them why this movie was going to be meaningful and special. And I'm glad we did.
I'm glad you did too. As an audience member, my partner and I, just at the edge of our sofa because of COVID. But the entire experience, Aubrey, was an incredibly emotional roller coaster that had you guessing. I should say it led you to questioning what was going to come up next for you. There was this engagement with the audience that really created space for the audience to be a part of the experience with you, which very rarely happens from an audience member's perspective. So let's talk a little bit about creating that experience for the audience and what that meant. Aubrey, you know, a lot went into this, I'm sure. I'd love to maybe just chat through one of maybe your more major challenges as either the lead and or the producer or both, and how you got through that, you know, how you landed at sort of both actively creating and participating in Black Bear. And you know, if there was sort of anything that made you go, wow, this is going to be something that I need to maybe work through to be able to be most present for my audience and for Larry. What is that? Let's talk maybe a little bit about that experience for you.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many kind of just like logistical, circumstantial challenges, I think, to the production. Um, we just the location that we were shooting at was this very remote location, and it kind of was very clear, you know, right when we got there that it was gonna be a struggle to like, you know, keep everything going smoothly, just because you couldn't really anticipate like what, you know, disaster was going to happen next or whatever. And film shoots are always like that. I mean, it doesn't matter how big or small your budget is, at least in my experience. It's like it's at the it's there's always just things like that happen. So as a producer, I think I was just, you know, just dealing with that kind of stuff. But um, I think the biggest challenge was probably the the performance and the kind of stamina that I had to have to pull it off, because you know we didn't have a lot of time, and you know when you're going that fast, it's just you don't have the luxury of time, and the script is really written like a play, which is one of the reasons I really wanted to do it, because I think a lot of times I find myself in uh, situations that are leaning more towards improv or things like that. But this was like was a really kind of deep dive into scene work, really. And so I think the challenge was just like just I think being present and being able to like roll with, you know, whatever was happening, and was the hardest thing for me, and just the subject matter. I think I knew when I signed on to do it that I was going to go to a kind of dark place and painful place, and it, you know, it was very appealing to me because of that, because it scared the shit out of me. I mean, I was really scared by it, but I think that's what was like, you know, inspiring me, making me want to do it. But then, you know, when you actually have to like execute it, I think it was, yeah, it was like a real exercise in like the balance of preparation and then also just having the ability to surrender to the moment and let go. For me, that was the biggest kind of part. And then intellectually, you know, the material is really up for interpretation in terms of what is happening, what is reality, what does all of this mean, and so I think there was like another kind of more cerebral challenge, which was just how do you track a character like this in a movie where the fourth wall is almost being bashed, you know, down, and you know things are just the reality is just kind of getting skewed. So I think it was a really hard thing to navigate, I think, just on an unconscious level. But I think that was what was so exhilarating about it for me. And I was surrounded by such amazing actors, and so I think we were all kind of down for the challenge, and luckily, and you know, and I think, yeah, I think that, and then I think just overall as a producer and as an actor, and I'm sure as Larry as a director, I don't want to speak for him, but I feel like, you know, one of the biggest challenges is to not compromise in those situations. How do you not compromise the movie when you know you have to move on and you don't have any more light, or you don't, how do you still feel like you got it really? Because I think there's a lot of people that I work with, that I have worked with, that you know, some people are afraid to kind of really, really get it sometimes, and people are more inclined to just go, all right, moving on, we're good, we're good. But that was not happening on this one. It was like a lot of takes in a very, very short amount of time. So it was like, it was an athletic leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It appeared as such. Larry mentions in maybe it was an article that I read, sort of at the climax, you had very little time. I think it was maybe years to shoot sort of the climax of the film. And your colleague, one of the other actors on set, who in the script gets ill, actually became physically ill,
Crazy.
which is wild. And she had to go to the hospital. And
Yeah.
that gave you, Aubrey, very little time to really ace that moment. And for what it's worth, Larry said she did it. She aced it. It was an incredibly physical and emotional experience, I'm sure. But what a challenge to overcome, as we're talking sort of about tactical challenges.
Yeah, no, it was wild. It was wild. There were tons of things that were happening, synchronicity, kinds of things that were happening on that set, that you're just like, you can't even, believe that Paula had to go to the hospital during the scene when she's sick. It was crazy. But
She was trying to hide it too. She didn't want to go, the poor thing. I felt her head. I was like, I feel like you have a pretty high fever. I'm not a doctor, but I think you might have to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
The hospital was like an hour away, and I actually jumped in the car with her and drove her to the hospital. We waited all night and then got her back like just in time to shoot the thing. And to talk about like the tactical logistics, just, Julie and I working with our AD Hilton Day, and there was a night where we were supposed to shoot like a 12-page scene that Aubrey and the whole cast had memorized. And then due to some scheduling snafu, we had to reschedule or move something around, and that caused the actors to have to relearn and memorize in another scene. And so it's like, as a producer, you forget that what you're doing and the choices you need to do, both for the success and the just overall success of the film, can affect every single person down to the actors who are going to have to, they're going to have to learn different lines, and that's a challenge that affects everyone.
We're just logistically being in a single location. We took everyone out to a beautiful location, Long Lake, New York, up in the Adirondacks, and it was very picturesque and on a lake, and we had a beautiful home to shoot in and a beautiful home to live in. But we were in a solar powered facility, which was amazing and helped us earn the gold seal from the Environmental Media Association. But that also had a ton of challenges, which we very quickly learned on set, because the solar power would run out and the power would run out, and then the house would have to switch over to batteries, and then the batteries would run out and our power would go out, and we'd have to switch over to diesel, and so it went every day. And we did our best to time those moments, and we worked with the AD team and the Grip and Electric team were heroes, running back and forth to that shed every day to help facilitate a smooth changeover. But man, sometimes it fell in the middle of some very uncomfortable moments for everybody.
I bet.
Yeah.
It's interesting. What you are all sort of speaking to is commitment to the material, commitment to the scene, commitment to the way that you produce films, and ultimately commitment to Tandem's mission and really what you want to sort of put out there in the world. I guess in regards to environment, maybe we can spend a minute on that, if you wouldn't mind. I'd love to hear a little bit more about sort of, maybe not the challenges, but the detail. What was maybe the most exciting thing? You did some really incredibly powerful work in regards to your positive impact in the space where you shot the film, and I'd love to know a little bit more about that.
Sure, I'll take that. We really strategically planned in advance that we were going to make a green film. We didn't know we'd get the gold seal, but we said at least we can try to make this film sustainable. And so Julie and I thought about everything from getting hybrid vehicles to go do our location scout with, that we drove up and down the coast to find that house in the first place. And then when we realized it was solar, we said, hey, how can we work with this location? We brought in a chef who cooked for the crew, and we used the dishwasher in the location we were shooting, so that we actually had everyone eating off real flatware and plates and dishes. And so that would all get washed. So we had no disposable, paper products, or minimize that as much as possible. We separated composting from recycling, from regular trash and paper trash. We worked as hard as we could to use LED lighting. And when we shot outdoor scenes, we just used no additional light at all. There was, except for one night where we did a huge balloon that represented the moon for a night scene. But there was just a strategic plan across the entire production to minimize all the unnecessary waste, from single-use plastic bottles, and giving Aubrey and the cast and all of our crew a bottle where they'd write their name on it and use that every day. All of those pieces helped from start to finish to make this a sustainable.
Renting and purchasing locally for costumes and props, so we weren't shipping and traveling as much as we could, like trying to solve the problem as consumers too, was a big part of it. And I have to say that, Aubrey often downplays all of the things that she did as a producer, including like be there throughout the entire edit, even while on other projects, and always available for giving notes and speaking to Lawrence or us, whomever was available, to finding our VFX person, but also on set was really a leader in, taking on all of these things, like, scraping her own garbage into the trash and putting things in the sink and using her water bottle. And that, I think, really inspired the entire crew to be like, okay, this is what we're doing. And even if it started out as an inconvenience, I know for a fact that so many people felt really, really great about those efforts on set. And that was inspired by how our lead cast behaved.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
And Aubrey, as a producer, I mean, was that a new experience for you, sort of that kind of green production to that sort of level?
Yeah, I don't think I mean, I feel like just most sets I'm on are just so wasteful. I mean, and you don't even realize, like, you don't realize it until you're on a set like this, where you're like, oh yeah, like we don't need to be, like throwing water bottle, like just mountains of water bottle, like plastic water bottles, like away, like it's, you just forget, because I think, I don't know, I just feel like that industry is like lagging behind in the terms of sustainability. It's like other industries they just don't care, I guess. I don't know. But I think also just it helped with the culture of the set. I think because we were in this house, and because we were doing these practices, it was very, I think, good for the movie ultimately, because it kind of forced us to have this like family mentality where we were all eating together. And like Chris and Sarah and I after lunch would like go and hang out with the camera department, and they would like make us matcha teas in their little machine. And like, it was just really, I think maybe we didn't even realize it so much at the time, but looking back on it, I just feel like little things like that really help the movie. I think the end result of the movie, because it creates an environment where everyone feels everyone's doing the same thing. We're all chipping in. There's not some weird hierarchy where some people are getting treated differently, or it's like it's just good all around.
Mm-hmm.
I think, but no, I'm not. I haven't experienced it a lot. I wish I did more.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm sort of hearing you say is a certain level of care and consideration for maybe your environment that then led to an additional sort of level of care and consideration for the film and for the work. And
yeah, all of that matters. I really.
Pretty incredible.
Well, good trade-off. The Robs and the camera team, shout out to them. We told them if they would make coffee after lunch, little espressos and lattes and things, we'd get them really nice coffee to do it with. And it worked out great.
There we go.
Yeah.
Well, so I'd love to maybe chat a little bit about what everyone has coming up next? We don't have a ton of time left. So maybe we can talk a little bit about future projects and or commitments as producers to, mission, vision, the future of Tandem, Aubrey, your career as a producer in the space, the environment, and whatnot. And I'd love to hear from each of you, just sort of where you see the next year or two or three kind of heading. So maybe Julie, why don't we start with you, and then Aubrey wrap up with you if that works.
Sure.
Well, we haven't announced our next project with Aubrey yet, but when you get back from Turkey, we're available. Call us.
Okay.
Johnny and I this year are committed to doing some educational work. So we've started speaking at universities, doing workshops for university students on sustainable filmmaking, so that the next generation of filmmakers that's coming out, no matter what area they choose to go into, that green best practices are their standard practices, and that will just be how we all practice film from now on. So that's something that we're very passionate about. We also want to.
I think we just had Julie freeze for a second here, but I'll just finish that we're really working on getting a few more independent films put together and out there this year, and really finding ways to recognize and reward other independent producers who are making the effort to become sustainable. And we're hoping to grow and expand our both our reach and the kinds and scope of films that we make.
And Johnny, you're working very closely with the Environmental Media Association.
That's right.
Levin, who I know, and you're now on the board. Is that right? Or okay.
Yeah, Julie and I joined the board in Q4 of last year. We're working actively with Debbie Levin and that incredible team to get involved as much as we can in raising this social media groundswell of support. And trying to get more people talking about this, more people thinking about sustainability, and at Tandem, not just sustainability again, but also diversity on who we hire on our crew, LGBTQIA staff members, more women into production, and more women's stories. It's super important to us.
Your partner just finished your sentence for you, as he should.
I knew you would.
Sorry, Julie.
But is there, Julie, just sort of anything else that you want to add? Johnny mentioned your work with the Environmental Media Association and your commitment to diversity on set.
And just that we've got half a dozen projects in development. A lot of them are with female writers and directors, all around subject matters that have to do with something in the zeitgeist or socially that needs more attention. And I hope that we're able to get to set once or twice in 2021 to produce film this year. So we're looking forward to that for sure. We miss it.
Good. And Aubrey, what's going on with you over the next year, 2 years, and sort of your commitment to the work that you're producing and starring in?
Well, I'm currently, like I said, shooting right now, which is so wild to be shooting during the pandemic, an experience I will never forget, and I hope I never have to have again. But I'm currently in a Guy Ritchie movie starring Jason Statham, and it's like an action spy comedy movie. So watch out for that. And in terms of producing, I actually have a couple. I have 2 animated shows that I'm producing that are hopefully both gonna be greenlit, in the next couple months. I've been developing them for the past 3 years, and the pandemic really gave both of those shows like a real boost. It's just one of those things. So I'm very excited about that, and I'm looking for my next indie film to produce and star in, and the pandemic also kind of allowed me to really focus on my own writing. So I'm hoping to direct a movie very soon. That is like a really big goal of mine that I've had for a while. And I feel like I'm finally getting to a place where I won't be so precious about it and just go for it. And yeah, I just want to make good movies. I just want to work with talented people that I respect, and I will definitely kind of carry this sustainable mentality along with me wherever I go. Um, but yeah, I just want to make stuff that people don't forget.
Yeah. Well, Black Bear, very, very hard to forget as an audience member and good friend of, the founders of Tandem and colleague and sort of environmental champion and strategist myself. The story in general of the entire experience is one that hopefully will be replicated moving forward. A powerful, powerful story, a powerful, powerful material, an incredible writer committed to the truth of the message, some really committed producers and a team that really showed up for that material. And then finally, just a really impressive film that gave an audience, I think, during a year that was otherwise quite challenging, some time off and an experience to get involved with from their homes, which meant a lot. So I think that that's sort of all of the time that we have today,
Thanks,
but
Emma.
it
Thank
has
you,
been
Emma.
wonderful talking with you all, and Aubrey meeting you, and Julie and Johnny seeing your faces. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you,
so
Kyle
much.
and PGA. Thanks, Aubrey, for dialing in from Turkey. We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks,
All right.
everybody.